Sal Paolantonio, ESPN national correspondent, covering the NFL primarily. His 30th training camp in Canton all last week. Dick Vermeil even gave him a shout-out in his Hall of Fame speech. He's been to the Eagles camp, heading to the Colts, Commanders, Giants, and Jets camps. Also a voter for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Sal Paolantonio joining us on the program. Sal, great to talk to you again. I'm curious, do you want to be the first reporter who tries ayahuasca? If you're a great reporter, just to be able to relate to Aaron Rodgers, would you be willing to try ayahuasca?
You got me on that one, Dan. Right out of the gate, brother. I love it.
And, if you don't do it, Andrea Kramer's going to do it.
Well, and then she'll get on with Brian Gumbel, and Brian will get out that pad and make some notes and ask her some cogent questions, and we'll all be very entertained.
Whenever I watch Real Sports with Brian Gumbel, I always want to know what he's writing down. Because, we used to do that when we'd be on SportsCenter. We would mock the people who would be writing down stuff, after a newscast. Like, the newscast would be over, and you'd see the anchor write down something. And we'd do that at the end of SportsCenter because there was nothing you could write down after the show is over. But Brian always writes these notes down when he's hosting Real Sports.
And by the way, my money's on the fearless Andrea Kramer.
With ayahuasca?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, we just were talking about I have a bet. I think the Lions are going to be over 6 wins this year. They're
okay.
They're hard knocks this year. Do you want to jump in on that?
I say no. I don't think the Lions will be over 6 wins. I think it is wide open in the NFC. I think they'll be much more competitive.
Yeah.
But I think teams are just going to blitz their quarterback, and they won't have much answer on offense. And I think it will start week 1 when the Eagles go into Detroit. I think right now it's a blitzing league, Dan. And if your quarterback can't get out of the way of the blitz, Jimmy Garoppolo, good example.
Yeah.
You're looking for a dual threat quarterback. You're looking for somebody who can get out of the way of the blitz. And the reason why it's become a blitzing league is because, 2 years ago, that point of emphasis of let's not call ticky-tack offensive holding. So the offensive holding calls went way down in 2020. Points scored went way up. And defensive coordinators were like, hey, if you're not going to call offensive holding, we got to get to the quarterback somehow. So we got to blitz.
The worst team in football this year will be?
I think it could be still the New York Jets. It'll be between New York and Jacksonville. In terms of record, I would say those are the two that will struggle the most. I think Jacksonville will get better eventually, 2 or 3 years into Doug Peterson's reign. I think Trevor Lawrence, I spoke with him after the Hall of Fame game on the field. He's in a better place than he was last year with Urban Meyer, clearly. And Doug knows what he's doing. He turned around the Eagles after the Chip Kelly disaster. But it'll be a little bit of a struggle for them. They got a really tough schedule. So do the Jets. Look at the Jets' schedule, Dan. Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
I was wondering about the Bears. Feels like they have Justin Fields and nothing else. Roquan Smith once out. The Texans, I don't know what the Texans really have, that they would be in the running for the worst team in the NFL. Anybody
2 good
else?
Candidates.
Yeah. You don't want to be a candidate on that list, but
no.
it certainly feels that way. You're on the Hall of Fame committee. I wanted to ask you, I vote on the Heisman, but nobody tells you what to factor in voting on the Heisman. You got to consider this. When you vote on the Hall of Fame, are you given any parameters of what you must include or not include?
No, but there's quite a bit of information gathering by all of the voters. And, once you get into the room on the day before the Super Bowl, there's a presentation made. And there's some really good ones. Bob Glauber makes some great presentations. Ira Kaufman makes some great presentations over the years. Peter King, Vic Carucci. The presentations are detailed. They're passionate. You go in there really, pounding the table for your guy, and you're trying to get him in, and I was, honored to be the representatives for Paul Tagliabue and Harold Carmichael and Dick Vermeil recently. But it takes a team, Dan. So in Vermeil's case, Carl Peterson and Ron Jaworski and the Eagles PR department and Paul Domowitch of the Philadelphia Daily News, they all get stuff. They get letters. They'll call voters. There's a lobbying campaign. It's not, they say it's supposed to be organic. Well, it's organic for Peyton Manning and Brett Favre and Ray Lewis. But for everybody else, you got to get votes.
But when's the last time it got really heated? The most heated that you've been involved with?
Well, I would say the Paul Tagliabue debate was challenging and difficult. He was the first one that came out of the contributors committee that was rejected by the committee in the whole, first and only. So that debate was difficult, and there were a lot of really good, challenging discussions. I wouldn't say it was heated at all. I would say there were very challenging discussions in the room. These are professionals who have been doing it for a long time, and they gather their information and they're passionate. What they do is highly professional for the Hall of Fame, and I'm just proud to be part of it. And then, of course, we had the Centennial Committee that I was on with Bill Belichick and Ron Wolf and our great friend John Clayton. And Tagliabue got in through the Centennial Committee for the 100th anniversary of the league.
I was also wondering about this. I go back to Gale Sayers, who had a shortened career when he blew out his knee. And then I didn't feel like we had anybody who had that shortened career but got in because they were unbelievable for 5 years. Then Terrell Davis got in. And I wonder what role Terrell Davis getting in helped Tony Baselli get in, and can that help Sterling Sharp get in at the wide receiver position?
There's no question TD getting in helped Tony Baselli. Now, Tony Baselli was on the all-decade team of the 90s, even though he only played 5 years. That's truly exceptional. Yeah. All those Pro Bowls, turning the franchise around. My partner on the matchup show, Greg Cosell, I used his quote in the meeting Greg Cosell, he said he was the best tackle he ever saw on film. I mean, the guy was truly great. And, greatness can be defined in certain time frames. Obviously, he was voted on the all-decade team, needed to get in, but TD getting in helped him. Sterling Sharp's in a different category because he's in the seniors. So this year, for the first time, the seniors are nominating 3 candidates to get in. And I got Sterling Sharp as the number 1 senior candidate. I'm not voting on the senior committee, but I'm voting on the committee on the whole. I think Randy Gradishar, Everson Walls, and what about Ken Anderson? I mean, you look at Ken Anderson's career with the Bengals, it matches up really well with some guys who got in the Hall of Fame like Dan Fouts. So I think Ken Anderson, to me, is one of the most underrated players of all time and should get serious consideration by the senior committee. I'm sure he will.
Yeah, I've been kind of banging that drum, having grown up in Cincinnati and watched him play. Kenny Riley, to me, is another defensive back who I think should be in the Hall of Fame. But, factoring in Kenny Anderson getting if he beat Montana in the Super Bowl, he might be in the Hall of Fame. Like, it's like Eli. If Eli had 1 Super Bowl and not 2, Sal, is he a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Probably not. But Eli Manning, I will vote for him.
Okay.
First ballot to get in. 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. There are 5 guys that got 2 Super Bowl MVPs. 3 of them are already in the Hall. The other guy's Brady and Eli Manning. So to me, Eli goes in.
How do you factor in Phillip Rivers' career when, that the totality of it and lack of postseason success?
I think he'll definitely get serious consideration, Dan. There's no question in my mind that he'll make the final 15. He'll be, quote unquote, what we like to say, in the room on the day before the Super Bowl. And there'll be a very passionate argument for Phil Rivers, without a doubt.
The running back position, Frank Gore, Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. Ricky Waters.
Well,
Roger Craig.
I've been saying that Ricky Waters felt like he was Marshall Faulk before Marshall Faulk, and you can say Roger Craig might have been in that category, that hybrid running back, pass catcher.
I'm a big believer in Roger Craig getting in, and I think Ricky Waters should be getting consideration, and he probably will. I think both of them eventually will get some serious consideration. I don't know why Roger Craig has not gotten traction, but you look at his numbers and the way I think he redefined the running back position clearly in the Bill Walsh offense.
Paulie has been banging the drum for Tiki Barber, and he has numbers. But then they win the Super Bowl the year after he retires. Are you a Tiki Barber Hall of Famer fanboy?
I got to look at it, Dan. I think he's in the conversation.
But if you have to look, Sal, then maybe he's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Well, I'm not as smart as you, Dan, so I'm going to look. I'm going to check it out.
All right. Paulie, you want to tell Sal? Yeah, Paulie, you want to help Sal?
Yeah, I'll tell Sal a little bit about football here.
Okay.
Sal, now, I'm not even a Tiki Barber fan personally, and I'm not a Giants fan. My theory is he started out as a good third down running back for his first 4 years, and we kind of pegged him as that. But his last 5 seasons, he had 4 seasons with 2,000 or more all-purpose yards. The only other guys in that category are Dickerson, Falk, and Walter Payton. He had 5 seasons over 1,200 yards. He also had 600 catches, and he did most of it in a 6-season span.
Why don't you put a dossier together, an email, and I'll present it to the committee. I'm an open-minded guy,
right.
Dan.
Paulie will do it, Sal. Paulie will do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Todd's got my email. Send it over.
Joe Thomas, Hall of Famer. Darrelle Revis, Hall of Famer. You see that happening?
I think Joe Thomas. Yeah, he's up for 2023. I could see him first ballot getting in right away. Yep. But Darrelle Revis, I could see him getting in right away.
But do the football voters have that bias like the baseball writers do with the first ballot? Like, you can't make first ballot. It's Cal Ripken. You know, like, do you find that it's really hard to get in first ballot with the football writers?
No, I don't think that it is.
Okay.
I think there's some people who would like to reserve first ballot for truly special players like, again, Ray Lewis, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Tom Brady. Those are first ballot. And I'm sort of in that category, Dan. I'm sort of in that category. Joe Thomas is first ballot to me.
I think Zach Thomas is a Hall of Famer, but he doesn't get mentioned. And I remember talking to Peyton Manning, and he said he might be the brightest guy I ever faced because it felt like he knew what we were doing. Like he felt like he was ahead of you, and you were, the quarterback on the, against him. So I don't know if he gets any traction whatsoever, or what would be the hold. Who did we talk to yesterday? Oh, Ross Tucker said he thought that Zach Thomas was better than Brian Urlacher, even though he thinks Brian Urlacher is a Hall of Famer. But why does Zach Thomas not get love?
He gets a lot of love, Dan. He's been in the final 15 for a number of years. So I think he's close, actually. I think he's real close, and I think he's very deserving. Super tough, super smart, very productive. Definitely a Hall of Famer. It's just a matter of when.
The NFC East, do you have Eagles winning or the Cowboys?
I have the Eagles winning. Haha, there's a big shock. But I do. I think having seen them and been around them, I think they're going to be much more competitive. And in areas where they were deficient last year, their passing game, their pass rush, their pass defense and coverage and on the back end will all be better. And at the linebacker position, their schedule is very favorable, which I think is important. I always look at schedule and how many Pro Bowl quarterbacks are you playing on the road? Oh. That to me is very important when you look at the over-under. How many Pro Bowl quality or Pro Bowl quarterbacks are you playing on the road? And the Eagles don't play very many on the road. So I think that puts them in rarefied air in terms of the easy part of their schedule. So I like them a lot. And I think having seen Jalen Hurts in the last 2 years, just think about this. In the same offense with the same offensive coaches for 2 years in a row for the first time since he was 16 years old. He goes to California. He gets 3 or 4 weeks of really good training on his footwork and mechanics. It's really showed. His core of his body is stronger. His base is more solid. He's delivering the ball definitely with much more velocity and accuracy. Now he just has to make quick decisions. The big misconception out there right now is progressions with young quarterbacks. Dan, they're cutting the field in half, and there really is. It's read, throw, or go. Read, throw, or go right now for young quarterbacks. You look at the safety, and then you cut the field in half, and you should have in your pass concept 1 or 2 throws. And if you don't have them, then you're gone. That's why Trey Lance will be much better than Jimmy Garoppolo, I think.
Who do you think has a better year, Jalen Hurts or Tua Tagovailoa?
I think it'll be Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
I think Tua's going to be good. I think, listen, there's so many quarterbacks that are in a prove-it year. Like 3 of the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC East, prove-it years. Brand new quarterbacks in the AFC South. I call this the year of living dangerously in the NFL because there's so many unknowns. You just start with a 45-year-old quarterback. One of the top Super Bowl contenders in the NFC has a 45-year-old quarterback. Great unknown. And by the way, Dan, can you remember the last time that the 2 quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, or the Rams and the Bengals, started out not really practicing in training camp the following year? Great unknown for the Bengals. What are we going to get Joe Burrow back on the field and see what he can do post-appendectomy? Great unknown for the Rams with the tendonitis with Matthew Stafford. Great unknown with Jalen Hurts, with Tua. It's all over the league. Russell Wilson changing teams. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty at the most important position in the league, and I think that the league has never been more wide open than I've seen it for 30 years I've been around it.
Will you get your appendectomy, your appendix out, just to understand what Joe Burrow's going through?
No.
You will not. Okay. All right. Andrea Kramer, you said Andrea Kramer already did, Paulie?
Yeah, yesterday.
Wow. That's the difference, Sal.
It is the difference.
She wins.
That's why she's in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, she is a Hall of Famer. Yeah. All right. You are Tiki Barber, Sal.
All right, that's good.
Thank you, Sal.
I don't mind being Tiki. Hey, Dan, I want to be you someday when I grow up.
Good to talk to you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
That's Sal Paolantonio.